Doing?
Yeah, good. Good to see you.
Awesome. Yeah, you too. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Awesome.
100%. Yeah, what's up?
Nothing much. Nothing much. No news, unfortunately. It's a bit of a strange time at the moment.
So weird, man. So weird.
How's the virtual teaching going?
Yeah, virtual teaching is all right, but virtual coaching, I don't know. That's a
Not
whole
great.
other, yeah, that's another story. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see how it goes.
Awesome.
Jules,
Awesome.
thanks for chatting to me.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how it's all gonna work out, but I'm probably gonna put this little chat and your tips on a website. So I'll send that to you to see how it turns out.
Okay.
But yeah, for the boys, this is the great Julian De Freitas, eh?
not so great anymore, unfortunately.
So Julian, you made first team in grade 8.
Yeah.
And in grade 9 is when I met you, when I was helping Mr. Roo coach the first team. And you're one of our important players. We had a good season.
We did, yeah. It was great.
I think the most memorable game was at Grey. We played Westville, and we thought that Westville were going to be like these rugby players. And it turned out they were like also very, very good. But we left out you and Broderick Birds and Matsi Sono and Maledu Rampa. You guys were all on the bench for the start of the game.
And I think, I remember that.
If we were not, if it wasn't 3-0 at halftime, it was 2-0 at halftime.
Yeah.
And we were about to tell you guys to all like change and get on the field, and you guys were all already changing, like getting ready. Yeah, that was ended up being 3-3. That was a good game.
Yeah, I remember that actually.
And then, Jules, then you left St. David's at the end of grade 9, and maybe you can just pick it up from there and just give me a brief overview of your football career.
Okay, so yeah, end of grade 9, I left. I moved into the Wits Academy. It was a bit of a tough change at first, I think, but it ended up being, yeah, amazing. Great learning curve, like really had to grow up quickly. Yeah, trained twice a day, every day, matches on weekends, tournaments, went out, like played engine a few times, played overseas a few times in tournaments in Denmark. Yeah, so it was a jam-packed 2 years, but amazing. Our coach was Ashley Makanya, and then obviously Eric and Roger were like overseers, and they kind of filtered us into the first team, and we trained with the first team quite a bit. And I think that was 2 years or 3 years. And then from there, I ended up playing in Denmark, got scouted at one of the tournaments we played in, signed for Brøndby. Yeah, seems like ages ago, but that was at 17, signed for Brøndby in 2012. Ended up playing there for 6 months in the under-17 team, and then ended up being filtered into the first team, trained a bunch of times with players like Dennis Rommedahl, Andreas Christensen, now playing for Chelsea, Pierre Højbjergs, captain of Southampton. So it was pretty amazing. But I don't think emotionally I was ready for it. Obviously coming from a very sheltered upbringing in the northern suburbs of Johannesburg made it difficult. And I missed home tremendously. I struggled a lot with homesickness. But I tried my best not for it to affect my football, and I don't think it did. But eventually, after a year, I just packed it up and I said, no, I'm coming home. Came home, played for the reserve team at Wits for a few months, and then signed for the first team with Gavin. And that was pretty much it. I ended up playing for Gavin for about 6-7 months, made an appearance in a few friendly games before one of the PSL seasons, and then was just kind of plagued with injuries. Tore my MCL in training. That was like 4 months out, got better, came back, played for like maybe 2 months, and then tore my ACL, and then that was me, unfortunately. So bit of a rough break. But I think I have some regrets not making it happen in Denmark. But it was difficult. It was all learning curves, and it's made me a better person in the end. So, but it was great.
And
Loved every minute.
and Denmark, Jules, is that like full on Danish, or is it English, or how is that?
So, I mean, the team that I moved into was predominantly Danish players. There was one guy from Sweden that he moved over. He was also a big star, like got signed for Arsenal when he was young, played in Arsenal youth leagues, ended up being a bit of a wild child and got released and then signed for Brøndby. But it was mainly Danish players, yeah. But a very strange footballing environment. I think I was expecting it to be very like physical, and which it was. Obviously, Europe is just physical in general, but they're very technically gifted players. And I played with many players that are now playing in first leagues all over the world, which is
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean the language specifically, like how are the sessions run in Danish? Like, can you speak
Yeah.
Danish now? Or?
I mean, I can't speak a word of Danish. I know a few words, probably all swear words, but other than that, I was the only English speaking player, so the whole session was run in Danish, and I kind of had to just figure it out and filter in and ask players what to do, and they would kind of some players were a little harsher than others, but the ones that I kind of made friends with broke it down for me and said, like, if we're doing a passing drill, you need to do this and move here and do that, and then I would kind of just watch. I'd like sit back a bit, watch, and then just kind of filter in. So it was very hostile, to be honest. Like when I first moved there, I just remember, I'll never forget, it was like my very first memory was we played I think it was my first friendly match, and I moved in the February, which was like the coldest month of the year, and it was like -7 degrees Celsius. The snow was like coming down. I couldn't see a meter in front of me. It was like getting in my eyes. I couldn't do anything, and they put me at holding midfield, and the center back passed me the ball, and I turned, and I didn't really know what I was doing, but I hit this like long diag, and it went straight out. There was not even a player that it went to. And then I just remember the guy turning to me and he was like, "You see, this guy can't even effing pass." And then I was like, "Okay, this is real. Like, I need to, I need to get into this quickly." Yeah.
And where did you stay, Jules? Where did you live? And
So the under-17 coach, he used to host international players in his house. He was like a host family, and there was like a few in the younger teams that I stayed with. I was the only one in my team, but there was like 4 of us that would live at his home, and he would cook dinner for us, and him and his family, and they were super nice. Got really close to them. Actually, still chat to them a bit now. So I stayed there, like a few minutes outside of Copenhagen, like a 30-minute train ride, I think.
I'm glad you actually mentioned like coming on and playing defensive midfielder. I think at school, I always saw you as like a striker or a number 10, or even I thought maybe at a push, like a right wing or a left wing. But I think like from the little bits of news I've heard from your career, it sounds as though you played pretty much like everywhere. Maybe you can just talk about,
Yeah, it was weird. It came as a shock because when I played in the tournaments and at Wits, at the academy, I was a right winger. I never played anywhere else. Occasionally I played, like you said, number 10 or number 9, but mainly played as right wing. And that's where I was used to, and that's where I was comfortable after the 3 years I played at Wits. And then I signed for Brøndby, and they kind of just threw me in anywhere wherever they needed me. So I played most of the games I played was holding midfield. I played occasionally at right back, occasionally right wing. But they had really good. They were lacking in the midfield, and they had really good wingers that made it difficult for me to get into the team. So I kind of had to adapt and develop my skills as a holding midfielder. And yeah, I played for the 10 months that I was there in the academy team. I played as a holding midfielder. Yeah.
And Jules, like, it's obviously so sad now that it's being bought by I can't even remember the name, but like, what are your like thoughts on like South African football and the club system and where it's going? And yeah, maybe you just take it from there.
I'm a little bit bitter. I won't lie to you about the South African system. The system doesn't work in my eyes. Wits was the only, apart from Ajax, who had a really strong academy team and their development was excellent. And all the players that, majority of players that now play in the PSL came from either the Ajax like development academy or the School of Excellence, which is also no longer anymore. So there was times that South Africa was trying their best to develop players, and Wits was one. Eric and Roger started this academy. It was unbelievable. I mean, the players we had in our academy were super gifted. I think within the first year, they got promoted into the first team. Wits were playing youngsters. It was like a very exciting young team that was coming up. And then what happened was I moved to Denmark. I moved to Brøndby, and then during the time I was there, Eric and Roger got fired. They were struggling in the PSL. They were struggling, so they got fired. And Gavin came in, and Gavin had a completely different mindset. And he kind of, I think it's majority of PSL teams want this like instant gratification, and they just sign big players and they forget about the youth. And since that happened, the academy kind of slowly dwindled, and the players didn't really make it into the first team. And I think that's kind of what the PSL is like. And I really think that they need to start investing money in development, because where are the players coming from? I mean, it's strange. When you look at majority of teams in Europe, players that come up from the youth teams play in the first team. And if you don't, like in Europe, if you're playing, Wits was fourth in the PSL at the time. If you're playing for a team in Europe in the academy of like, say, United or City or Chelsea, those kids are going to end up being pros. Like, they are, maybe not for those big teams, but they will definitely filter in either first division or lower leagues in the Premier League. It's like guaranteed, because you're that good. Whereas Wits, I think one player made it from our academy team. The rest are like, they've just stopped playing football, and it's sad. So I think the system needs a bit of a reshuffle. I don't know how. It's a very difficult thing to do, but I think it needs to be looked at differently.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with you. And it speaks to also like the quality of the players that are coming in, that almost like the guys are making their debuts at like 26, 27.
Exactly.
And like, where does that leave you, for player development?
It's crazy. I mean, the players that I played with in Brøndby, I think at least 13 or 14 are now playing in big leagues in Europe. And there was like 18 of us in the team. So it's...
Okay, Jules, we can chat about that forever and get sad. But yeah, when I asked you for some tips for strikers straight away, you said your first tip was about a striker's movement when the right back or the left back picks up the ball, and you drew me a fantastic diagram of what you meant there. I'm going to try and present my screen. I've got a little tack pad. Can you see that?
It's just loading. Yeah, I can see that.
Okay, cool. So we, the blue team, and kind of the red and black team are 4-4-2, and the spacing of these things never quite seems right. But we've got a goal kick, and the goalkeeper plays it to the center back, who then plays it to the right back. And you want to talk me through the movement of our number 9 here?
Of number 9, yeah, sure. So I think whoever's played number 9 will agree that it's a difficult position to play, especially if you're a little bit smaller. I mean, if you're a bigger player, it makes it a little bit easier because you can hold the ball up, your physicality helps. But usually if you're a smaller player, you're coming up against big center backs, so you want to try and make their life as difficult as possible. If you had to move number 9 just in front of the number 4, I would think that's maybe a little bit closer to number 2. Yeah, so that positioning would not be ideal, because now the opposing center back can see both you and the player with the ball, and he can move accordingly. So I think it wouldn't be ideal. It's not dynamic. It doesn't give you much chance to turn. Your back is facing the goal that you're trying to score in. So as a smaller player, you want to try and make the runs in behind and make those centre backs work. So I think an ideal positioning would be on the opposite side to where the ball is, so that now the centre back has a bit of work to do. He has to now keep his eye on the ball, the player with the ball, he has to keep his eye on, as well as yourself. So he is constantly like checking you, moving his head, making sure that he's not side on. He has to be a bit flat so that he can see both of you. And that makes it a lot harder for him to defend when you start running into those channels that is between 2 and 4. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is this guy over here, number 4, he wants to keep his eye on the ball because that's where the game is, but he also knows that you're going to be in trouble.
Exactly.
So you don't want to be in his eye line of the ball. And in the diagram, the run you said was kind of like this run in between the fullback and the centre back.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jules, I wanted to ask you what you think about where that run should be in terms of in front of or behind the centre back, or you don't think it really matters?
I think you have to weigh it up. What happens is if you're running behind the centre back, there's probably more chance of you being offsides, right? Because it would be a lot easier for the 4 and the 5 to kind of just step up. And then you would be kind of stranded. Whereas if you're running in front of that number 4, there's no chance that you'll ever be offsides. And I think you still get that same competitive advantage. You'll still have to, you're already in full speed and he'll still have to turn and chase. Whereas
it's action versus reaction, right?
Exactly. So I think in my eyes, I would run in front of him. It's a little bit safer, but obviously the behind works. You just have to kind of weigh it up. And depending on how aware he is of the game and how good his like positional players, you kind of have to like weigh that up during the time that you're playing.
Sure. And Jules, the next one you spoke about was running in the channels, and you said it is basically feeding on from that same point. Maybe you want to speak about that just in general play, or
yeah. So I played number 9 quite like a few times at Wits. And I was, like I said, I was a smaller player compared to the centre backs that I played against. So I don't know if you know Zaid Patel. He played quite a few times for Wits. He was our other number 9, and he was a very big guy. And he was amazing to play with because you could, like the number 8 or number 6 could get the ball in the midfield and just play the ball to his feet, and he'd be able to hold it up. And like the number 10 could now filter in and get the ball and get it dropped by. But I was never able to do that. I was never strong enough. But I had speed at least. So I think if you're a smaller player, those runs into the channels make it difficult for centre backs. But it kind of ruins the structure. And when you make that run, the centre backs never know whether the 4 should go or the 5 should go. And if the 5 goes, you've made a huge hole in the midfield. And if you've made that run, then the right back can now still play that ball into number 10 and he'll be open. So those runs kind of just disrupt that structure of the back 4. So I think they're vitally important. Also, if you get the ball down that channel, I mean, that's great. You you can pull the ball back, you can go have a go, you can run to the byline and cross. Like there are endless possibilities, I think. So it's a great run, and it's as a number 9, you should constantly be moving, constantly be like behind the centre back, on the shoulder, come short sometimes. So never be predictable. Just keep moving, keep going. You often think like as a number 9, you should just stagnate there in the middle. But I think if you're a smaller player, you should just keep moving.
Yeah, 100%. That's coach's like dream. Those words: keep moving and be dynamic. And then your last one was about defending from the front. I think that's like very, very important for guys, especially younger guys, to understand that defense starts with leading the charge from the front there.
Yeah. So I think I was never much of a good defender, and I used to get shouted at all the time by my coaches because I didn't like defending. But I think you have to get it into your mind as a young player that it's as important as attacking and scoring and making runs. You have to be complete, and you have to put in as much effort as your teammates when defending. And as a striker, you have a very important role. You kind of decide when and where the opposing team plays. If you're coming up a very technically good team and you know they like playing the ball short, you have to dictate where they play it. It's entirely up to you where you kind of force them to have very good midfielders. You don't want them to go through the midfield. You want them to play wide. And once they play the ball wide to the left back or the right back, then you initiate the pressing. You decide when your team should start pressing. So it's very important.
Yeah, this is one of my passions at the moment, Jules. So let's now say that we are not the blue team, we the red team. And the blue team is, like you say, they're one of these like incredibly gifted ball playing sides. They push up their fullbacks. They've got like these dazzling feet in midfield. And like you say, like what kills me then is we've got a goal kick and the midfielders and defenders are playing the game. Yeah, maybe let's say we're playing a 4-3-3 maybe, and you've got these front three that are like they've just finished their attack. It didn't work out for them, and they stuck there in that side of the half.
Yeah,
kills me.
That's not great at all.
Yeah. So what you're actually saying is you want to start them off being more compact, and then as soon as they play one side, you want to as the number 9 make sure that they don't have the option of going back across that way or coming back into the midfield working with the left winger.
Exactly. So I think ideally you would want that number 9. If the ball's played to number 5, you would want him to. You want to restrict him from playing the ball back to the goalkeeper first, I think. Or if he does play it back, you would want the goalkeeper to kick long, right? Because you don't want him to play short. So you would want to restrict that pass, like you said, between centre backs, because the minute they start moving the ball from right back to centre back to left back, your entire team has to shift. And if they're very technically gifted, they are going to pick you apart. So you kind of want that number 9 to block that pass between the 2 centre backs as well as the goalkeeper. And once you've done that, now you've initiated that the left centre back has to play the ball to the left back. And the minute that ball is played, now the rest of your team has to react. They have to now get on top of them. They have to make sure. I mean, the line is your friend. When you're pressing and defending, the line is your friend. The ball goes out, it's your ball. So push him down the line. Get close, get tight. And I don't think they will have much of a chance to play short anymore.
Yeah, or unless they want to play short to play long, which is what we love.
Yeah, exactly.
Jules, fantastic chatting to you just to catch up and talk football again.
Yeah, awesome.
Hopefully we get a chance to chat again soon and play another old boys game or something.
Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be awesome.
And
cool. Thanks
for your time.
I'm sure we should have a drink for Liverpool as well, and all you Liverpool
supporters.
Whoa!
How did I not mention that? Yeah, geez. Whoa, 30 years of heartache. Yeah.
Oh man,
too happy.
It was amazing.
And I mean, like you said, like defending from the front. There we go. Like Salah, Mane, Firmino.
Exactly.
There we go. Those are the guys. They make their own goals. But yeah, it's exciting to watch when those guys are defending from the front, like you said.
I mean, when the minute they lose the ball, they press immediately, and it makes it very difficult for teams to play. Even City, like when Liverpool plays City, they struggle to play their game, and you have the most technically gifted players, and if you're pressing and you're constantly applying pressure, you're going to make a mistake. It's impossible for you not to make a mistake. And that's where you want to win the ball in their half. You want to win the ball in their half, and you want to make 2 passes and you're in on goal, especially when you're playing good teams that are technically good.
Awesome, Jules. I really enjoyed that. Thanks a lot.
Awesome. Thanks.
Be safe during the lockdown, and my love to your family and Ryan in particular.
I'll tell him.
And I'll chat to you soon, Jules.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, V. Have a good one.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, you too, man.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Bye.